594 sa AM band. Ito ang CMN Malaybalay DXDB.
Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Maayong adlaw kaninyong tanan. Ilabi na sa atong mga suking tigpaminaw nga naminaw ni ining taknaa. Ang PALIMANI, usa ka programa nga gimugna sa Department of Education, Division of Malaybalay City, nga nagkahulugang paminawa. Alang sa kasayuran sa tanan, ang PALIMANI inyong madungog sugod karong Oktubre 9, 2020. Para sa kinder, paingon sa grade 6, inyo kining madungog matag una og ikatulong Biyernes sa bulan. Alang sa kinder o grade 1, inyo kining madunggan alas 10 paingon sa alas 10:40 sa buntag. Para sa grade 2, alas 10:40 paingon alas 11:20. Og sa grade 3, kini madunggan alas 11:20 paingon sa alas 12 sa udto. Para sa grade 4, madungog kini alauna paingon alauna 40 sa hapon. Sa grade 5, alauna 40 paingon sa alas 2:20. Og para sa grade 6, alas 2:20 paingon sa alas 3 sa hapon. Alang usab sa grade 7, paingon sa grade 12, inyo kining madungog matag ikaduha og upat nga Biyernes sa bulan sa susamang takna. PALIMANI. Tara, maminaw ta og magtuon kita sa kahanginan.
Bukid man o syudad, wala gayud ka na ibabag sa pag-eskwela nato, agad kitang mahimo. PALIMANI, PALIMANI, PALIMANI. Sa pag-eskwela nato, agad kitang mahimo. PALIMANI, PALIMANI, PALIMANI. PALIMANI, PALIMANI, PALIMANI. Kay muhatag may impormasyon dahil kini sa mga pamagi na ikaw magkatuon. Sinagdag na programa kita karon mamagi na. Sige na pagandam na kay karon pagasugdan ta. Sa bukid man o syudad, wala gayud ka na ibabag sa pag-eskwela nato, daghan kitang mahimo.
Kini ang Division of Malaybalay City. Radio-based instruction, distance learning program. PALIMANI. PALIMANI. PALIMANI.
Palimani.
Kini madungog matag Biyernes, alas 10 sa buntag, paingon sa alas 12 sa udto, ug sa susamang adlaw, kini padayon nga madunggan sa alauna ngadto sa alas 3 sa hapon. Diri lang sa DXDB Radyo Bandilyo, PALIMANI. Tara, magminaw ta ug magtuon kita sa kahanginan. PALIMANI.
Palimani, palimani,
The Department of Education, Region 10, Division of Malaybalay City, with the full support of the city government of Malaybalay and this station, offers a radio-based instruction for grade 10 science with integration of English entitled Types of Boundaries.
Arguments on how mountains and volcanoes were formed. Good afternoon, learners! I am teacher Steve M. Nolada.
And I am teacher Angeline B. De Los Reyes, your teachers on the radio.
Today we will learn the following. First, describe the movement of plates in its types of boundaries. Second, enumerate facts for an argument. And third, appreciate the beauty of nature as a result of plate movements.
For today's lesson, we will be learning about the types of boundaries. We will also discover the reasons why we have beautiful mountains and volcanoes around us. Is it based on legend and myth, or about plate movements? We will find out later. So, are you now excited, students?
Yes, of course. Before we will start our discovery, here are the things you need to do in our radio class. First, prepare yourself. Second, listen carefully on the role play that will be aired after a while. Third, prepare the following materials: paper, pen, sponge, cardboard, scissors, notebook, and bond paper. Fourth, take note of the important ideas you can get from the role play. Fifth, listen to the questions that will be given while the role play is going on. And sixth, remember also that the setting of the role play is in the classroom. So, you listeners at home will be part of the grade 10 class and will perform the activities that will be given during the discussion.
That's right. So if you have some questions or if you have something to share about our lesson for today, you can directly text us through this mobile phone number 0965-602-7138. Again, 0965-602-7138 for Globe and TM subscribers.
If you are watching live right now, you can message us in this Facebook page, DEP and Malaybalay RBI program, which you can see on the screen. We will answer your questions and or talk about your concerns later before we end our lesson.
That's right. So before we will begin the lesson, Sir Steve, let us remind first the learners to take note of this question that they are going to answer at the end of this episode. Okay, learners, please bring out your notebook and ball pen for taking this question on your notebook. Okay, the question is, as a citizen of our country, what is your stand on the issue regarding converting natural landforms to commercial purposes? Again, as a citizen of our country, what is your stand on the issue regarding converting natural landforms to commercial purposes?
Okay, so learners, are you ready to discover wonderful things in science? Here's our lesson for today, entitled
Types of Boundaries
and Arguments on How Mountains and Volcanoes Were Formed.
Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon, Teacher Sheng.
Now, class, can you name some tourist spots in your local barangays, municipalities, or provinces that you were able to visit?
Mount Capistrano, ma'am, at Managok.
Muswan Peak, which is known as Mount Kalayo, ma'am, at Maramag.
Mayon Volcano at Albay.
So, why do you think those mountains and volcanoes were formed?
Ma'am, I believe there are legends and myths about how mountains and volcanoes were formed, just like the legend of Mount Mayon. It is about the tragic love story of Daragang Magayon and Panganoron. When both of them died, Magayon's father buried the lovers together, and years after, the Ibalon people noticed the grave rise, spewing red-hot boulders from its crater preceded by quakes as it formed into the Mayon volcano we see today.
Ma'am Sheng, my idea is different from Brian. For me, mountains and volcanoes were formed because the plates are moving. I believe that the reason is something to do with the plate movements.
So, there are two arguments presented. When we say argument, it is an exchange of opposite views. So, there are two opposite views on the reason why mountains and other geologic features were formed. It's based on legend or myth and based on plate movements. Now, let's find out. Let us discuss all about the types of boundaries. There are three types of boundaries: convergent boundary, divergent boundary, and transform fault boundary. But before we will discuss the types of boundaries, let us first recall what are the two types of plates. Yes, Joy.
The two types of plates are continental plate and oceanic plate.
Continental plate is made up of crust that is in the land masses. It is thicker compared to oceanic plate but has lesser density, while oceanic plate is made up of crust that are found at the bottom of the ocean. It is thinner compared to continental plate but has greater density.
That's right. Continental plate has lesser density and is thicker compared to oceanic plate, which is thinner but has greater density. Students, let me emphasize that plates are moving slowly and continuously. As a result of motion of the plates, three types of plate boundaries were formed: convergent, divergent, and transform fault boundaries.
Ma'am, what is the movement of the plates of each boundary?
That's a good question. Now, let's discuss the movement of plates in each type of boundary. Let's start with convergent boundary. So what is convergent boundary? Convergent boundary is a boundary produced when two plates collide or push into. And there are three subtypes of convergent boundary. 1. Convergent of continental plate and oceanic plate. 2. Convergence of two oceanic plates. And 3. Convergence of two continental plates. Now, let's demonstrate how plates move in convergence of continental plate and oceanic plate. Class, let's perform this activity. Get a sponge and a cardboard. Then, place the cardboard and the sponge near each other. The cardboard will be our model for oceanic plate because it is thinner. Then, the sponge will be our model for continental plate because it is thicker. Since convergent boundary is where two plates will collide or meet, I want you to slowly push the cardboard and the sponge towards each other. Then now, let's describe what happened to cardboard, which is the oceanic plate, as it collides with the sponge, which is the continental plate.
Ma'am, the cardboard moves under the sponge?
Yes, exactly.
So, ma'am, when oceanic plate collides with continental plate, the oceanic plate goes under the continental plate, just like the cardboard moves under the sponge. Why is that, ma'am?
The oceanic plate goes underneath the continental plate because oceanic plate has greater density than the continental plate. And the sinking of plate beneath the other plate is what we call subduction.
You mean, ma'am, The reason why oceanic plate goes under the continental plate is because of their density?
Yes, Lisa. Plate of higher density will subduct or goes underneath to the plate where lesser density. Now class, because of the subduction process, a depression on the ocean floor called trench is also formed. A trench is deepest point in the ocean floor. So, what do you think will happen to the leading edge of oceanic plate as it continues to move downward?
Ma'am, I think the leading edge of oceanic plate will start to melt because the temperature beneath the crust, which is the mantle, is higher.
Very good. Since the mantle is hotter than the crust, the tendency is the subducted crust melt forming magma. Addition of volatile materials such as water will cause the magma to become less dense, hence allowing it to rise and reach the crust once again and causing volcanic activities on the continental leading plate. This is the reason why we have volcanoes.
Just like Mount Mayon and Mount Calayo or Musuan Peak.
Yes. So again, in the convergence of oceanic and continental plates, what geologic feature will be formed in continental plate and oceanic plate?
Trenches will be formed under oceanic plate, while volcanoes will be formed along continental plate.
Very good, Brian. Now, let us demonstrate the second type of convergent boundary, the convergence of two oceanic plates. Again, class, I want you to get a sponge and a thin notebook. The notebook will serve as our oceanic plate with greater density and the sponge for another oceanic plate which has lesser density. Then just like on what we did with the cardboard and sponge, slowly push the notebook and sponge towards each other. Then observe what will happen. So now class, can someone describe what happened to the notebook and sponge as they collide? Remember class, that the sponge is our model for oceanic plate with lesser density and the notebook serves as our model for oceanic plate with greater density.
Ma'am, I think same as in the convergence of oceanic plate and continental plate. The notebook will go under the sponge.
Very good. Why do you say so?
Ma'am, I believe the process is subduction. Since the notebook serves as the oceanic plate with greater density, it will go underneath the oceanic plate with lesser density, which is the sponge.
Exactly. Oceanic plates with greater density will subduct to another oceanic plate with lesser density in the process called subduction. Like the first type of convergent boundaries discussed earlier, converging oceanic plates will cause formation of trenches. And these trenches will become sources of earthquakes. Now, what do you think will happen to the leading edge of the oceanic plate as it continues to subduct?
It will melt just like in the first example, ma'am.
Yes, the leading edge of the subducted plate will eventually reach the mantle, causing it to melt and turn into magma. The molten material will rise to the surface, creating a volcanic island arc. So instead of volcano that will be formed, what will be formed is volcanic island arc.
Ma'am, what is an island arc?
Volcanic island arc is a chain of volcanoes positioned in an arc shape and it is surrounded by water. Example of this is the formation of Camiguin Island. Now, we are down to the last subtype of convergent boundary, the convergence of two continental plates. Class, I want you to get one piece of paper or a newspaper as our model for Earth's lithosphere. Place it on top of a table, then I want you to hold both ends of the paper. Since it is convergence of two continental plates, slowly push the paper to the center while holding it from opposite ends. Now, what happened to the bond paper as they were pushed from opposite ends?
Ma'am, the piece of paper buckled upward.
Very good, Joy. So, if the bond paper represents the Earth's lithosphere, what do you think will be formed in the lithosphere?
Mountains or mountain ranges are formed in the lithosphere, ma'am.
Yes, mountains were formed instead of volcanoes. Now, how will you differentiate this type of convergent plate boundary with the other two?
Ma'am, there is no subduction process.
Exactly. Why do you think there is no subduction in convergence of two continental plates? To answer my question, just compare the densities of oceanic plate and continental plate.
I think because both plates are low in density, ma'am.
Very good, Joy. Since the two plates involved are both continental plates, there is no subduction process because both plates are low in density. As a result, mountains are formed instead of volcanoes.
So, there are no trenches and volcanoes will be formed, ma'am?
Yes, if there is no subduction process, no trenches, no volcanoes, and no volcanic island will be formed, but only mountains. Now, we are done discussing on the three subtypes of convergent boundary. Let us now explain the movement of plates in the second type of boundary, which is the divergent boundary. This time, kindly get two books, place it on the table or in the floor, and connect the edges of the books together. The books will serve as our plates. Then slowly separate the two books by pulling it away from each other for about a couple of seconds. Now, what do you think is happening to the Earth's crust as you pull the books?
The land masses are moving away from each other. Then, there is a crack or gap between two land masses.
So, can you describe now the movement of plates in divergent boundary?
Divergent boundary is produced when two plates pull apart or move away from each other.
Then, ma'am, what geological feature will be formed in a divergent boundary?
Formation of rift valleys, ridges, and creation of new seafloor. Now, let's proceed to the last type of boundaries. Transform fault boundary. Again, get two books, place it on the table or in the floor, then connect the edges of the book. Then, for a couple of seconds, I want you to move the books sliding past each other. So what have you observed on the demonstration?
The books did not separate, ma'am, but just move side to side.
Exactly, Joy. So, transform fault boundaries produced when two plates slide past each other or move side to side or grind. And one best example of transform fault boundary is the San Andreas Fault. So we are done discussing the three types of boundaries. Now, who can enumerate the three types of boundaries and describe their plate movements?
Convergent boundary is the boundary produced when two plates collide or push into. Divergent boundary is produced when two plates pull apart or move away from each other. Transform fault boundaries produced when two plates slide past each other or move side to side.
Very good, Brian. So now, let us go back to the two arguments presented why mountains and volcanoes were formed, based on legend and myth, or about the plate tectonic theory.
Now, I believe that mountains and volcanoes were formed because of the movement of the plates, which is based on facts, not like the legend that I know.
Yes, because fact is a thing that is known or proved to be true, while legend is a traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical but unauthenticated. So, we need to analyze between two sides of an argument before deciding into something. With this lesson, we learned about the different types of boundaries and their corresponding plates movements. In convergent boundary, the plates will collide. Divergent boundary when two plates pull apart, and transform fault boundary when two plates move side to side. We learned also the difference between facts and legend.
There you have it. You just heard our recorded lesson about the different types of boundaries. We hope that our grade 10 learners who are listening right now learned a lot from our lesson for today. Right, Ma'am Ange?
That's right, Sir Steve. Well, time check, it's already 1:27 in the afternoon. We will be glad to read and answer your questions regarding our topic for this afternoon, which is on the types of boundaries.
Yes, Ma'am Ange. You may reach us through text at 0965-602-7138. Again, 0965-602-7138, or through chat at DepEd Malaybalay RBI program.
Alright, so this time, Sir Steve, let's have a recap on the topic discussed in the play. Okay, so maybe we will ask our learner listeners to share their learnings about the play. Okay, let's have first the first question. Okay, by the way, if you're going to send your message, please write your name, your school, and then your answer to the question. Okay?
Yes.
Sige, let's start with question number 1. Okay, what are the 3 types of boundaries? Again, what are the 3 types of boundaries? Okay, while typing, do not forget to write your name, your school where you are studying, and then your answer. Okay. So while still typing, let's have first these words mentioned in the play. We have continental and oceanic plate. Okay, what is the difference between continental and oceanic plate, Sir Steve? Right? So we have continental plate. Sa siya? It is made up of crust that is in the land masses. Okay, while for oceanic plate, it is made up of crust that are found at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, atong timan-an, pag oceanic plate, na siya sa ocean. Pag continental plate, naa siya makita or made up of crust that is in the land masses. Okay.
I think we have already an answer.
Alright.
Sige.
Okay, we have Sophia.
We have the first. Okay, from Bukidnon National High School.
Okay, Ella.
Miss Ella Luis D.
Borja.
Borja. Okay, the 3 types of boundaries. Number 1 is divergent. Second, convergent. And the third one is
transform fault boundary. Okay, correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for all who were able to answer. We also have Bap. What's that? Okay, Sophia Amor, Tolio Palacio. Okay, and others. There are a lot of them who answered our question.
Okay, thank you very much,
okay,
students.
Next is the 3 subtypes of convergent boundary. We have continental plates or convergence of continental plates and oceanic plate. Number 2, convergence of 2 oceanic plates. And then number 3 is convergence of 2 continental plates. Now the question is, which of these subtypes forms a volcano? Okay, the question is, which of the 3 subtypes of convergent boundary forms a volcano? Asa
Saan sa tatlo?
ang ga-form og volcano?
Yes.
Convergence ba
Don't
sa continental plates o oceanic plate?
Yes.
Or convergence sa duha ka oceanic plates? Or convergence sa duha ka continental plates?
Okay, again, don't forget to write your name, your school, and your answer. Alright?
Okay. So, let's have some trivia, Sir Steve. No?
Okay.
So, we are talking about mountains and volcanoes.
Yes, of course, ma'am.
So, in Bukidnon, Sir Steve, there are 98, wow, named mountains in Bukidnon.
Yes,
Can you name some?
I think some of those mountains, ma'am. Mount Dulang-Dulang, tama ba?
Yes, exactly.
How about Mount Kalatungan?
Yes, that's it.
Mount Kitanglad.
Okay, the very famous Mount Kitanglad.
How about Mount Kalayo, which is the Muswan Peak. That is mentioned a while ago. Diba, ma'am?
Okay, there are a lot of them, right? So, let's see if the learner listeners have already answered our question. Okay, which of the 3 subtypes of convergent boundaries will form a volcano?
Okay, what's the answer, ma'am?
Okay, the answer is convergence of continental plates and oceanic plate.
I think we have
Continental plates and oceanic plate.
Okay, the answer is continental and oceanic plates.
Okay.
Okay, we have again.
Okay, paspas kay mo type si Ella Luis Di Borja from Bukidnon National
Very
High School.
active students. Thank you, Miss Ella Luis Di Borja of
Okay.
Bukidnon National High School.
Yes,
wow.
we also have Sid Angeli Dinglasa Galupo.
Alright.
Okay. And then we still have more of them.
Okay.
Okay.
We have Justin.
Si Justin kay two oceanic plates daw.
Okay.
Volcanic island arc ang ma-form pag two oceanic plates ang mag-converge.
Continental and Continental Oceanic by Miss Andrea Marcela
Okay,
Iana
correct.
Pancito. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Alright.
Sige, we will have some
And,
more trivia from Sir
Ma'am,
Steve.
natalakay din 'di ba sa ating drama yung tungkol sa Muswan Peak, 'di ba?
Yes.
Alam mo ba yung traditional story or yung tinatawag nating legend ng Muswan Peak, ma'am? Brief legend ng Muswan. Ito yung nangyari. It was told that the two lovers committed suicide in this place.
Oh, that's very tragic.
As time went by, the place where they were buried rose up and became a mountain. And foreigner visited this place and was accompanied by the natives. And when the foreigner arrived at the top of the peak, in utter amazement of this view, he exclaimed, "The most one." Again, the most one. And then he found everything very beautiful from the top. The natives kept repeating what he said, but because they couldn't speak it the way that he did, they pronounced it instead as the most one. It's Muswan. Okay, Muswan. Later on, this became the name of the peak. Thus, Muswan Peak, as they said, this is a legend. Diba, ma'am?
Okay, so legend. Mutuo ba mo og mga legend?
Yes, yung mga myth. Diba, ma'am?
Myth or legend. Okay. So, that's it.
How about the Mount Capistrano, ma'am?
Okay, have you been to Mount Capistrano, Sir Steve?
Not yet, totally not yet.
Well, I also wanted to climb Mount Capistrano.
Yes,
soon.
ako rin, ma'am. Actually, ganda ng legend din ng Mount Capistrano, ma'am.
Oh, really?
The mountain where Captain Capistrano hid himself and his troop during World War II, diba? Many lives was saved because of that mountain and many lives were also taken, diba? At also, Mount Capistrano is a sacred place. Dapat hindi natin tawag dyan, yung dapat natin mahalin or alagaan yung ating mga mountains dito sa Bukidnon. Di ba, ma'am?
Okay. That's it. So, let's have the messages from our learner listeners. Okay, again, our text line is 09-656027138. So, for the benefit of those who have no internet connection, pwede ragid kayo mo mag-text sa ato ang text line 0965-602-7138.
Yes, of course, mga estudyante ng Kasisang National High School, Bukidnon National High School na taos-pusong sumusuporta ng programang ito at nakikinig sa ating radio-based instruction. Maraming salamat po. At meron pa ba? Okay.
Alright. So again, let's go back to our three subtypes of convergent boundary for clarification. Convergence of continental plates and oceanic plate will lead to formation of volcanoes.
Yes.
Okay. Manin yung timanaan pag ang continental plates o oceanic plate ang mag-converge, the volcanoes will be formed. Pag ang duha ka oceanic plates naman ang mag-converge, ang ma-form niya is volcanic island arc. Okay, and for if two continental plates ang mag-converge, there will be formation of mountains or mountain ranges. So like ang atoang Mount Kitanglad mountain ranges, it is formed because of convergence of two continental plates.
Alright.
So ang ato ang Mount Muswan or Muswan Peak is volcano man na, sir, no?
Yes.
It is an active volcano. So it is formed because of the convergence of two oceanic plates.
Alright.
Okay, that's it. So hopefully
it.
you have learned a lot from our lesson for today.
Alright, ma'am.
So you're still listening to PALIMANI, a school-on-the-air radio-based instruction for grade 10 learners, happening every second and fourth Fridays of the month at 1 o'clock to 1:40 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So learners, let us never forget that fact is a thing that is known to be true, while legend is a traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical but unauthenticated. So, we need to analyze between two sides of an argument before deciding into something.
Yes, of course, ma'am. And also, let us always remember to obey and respect health protocols, especially during this pandemic.
Today is indeed a great day, Sir Steve.
Yes,
Until
ma'am,
next
indeed.
time, same station, same time,
And same voices. This is Teacher Steve M. Nolada.
And this is Teacher Angeline B. De Los Reyes,
Your teachers on the radio. School principals,
Personnel and staff of School Governance and Operations Division,
Learning Resources Management Division,
Curriculum Implementation Division,
Dr. Aliena S. Dahay, SESE, Assistant Schools Division Superintendent,
Dr. Victoria V. Gazo, SESO 5 Schools Division Superintendent,
Division of Malaybalay City, Region 10, Department of Education, and this station, DXDB AM 594 kHz, Radyo Bandilio.
Inyong nadungog ang PALIMANI. Giatod kaninyo sa Department of Education, Division of Malaybalay City. Atangi ang sunod nga hugna sa atong programa. Daghang salamat.